But yeah, we really would like you guys to try and avoid not missing training meetings because they become very important. Anyone who's on the trip last year, like Felicita can attest to it, they were important.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it helps with the unity, helps with knowing what's going on, and what to expect while we're there. So we really are trying to encourage you to not miss as many of them as possible. I do have the rest of the dates that I can give you right now. So if you have a piece of paper or a phone, whatever you want to write it down, I'll give it to you right now so that way you are prepared. So May 10th is obviously today. The next one will be June 14th. That is a Saturday here at the church office. All of them will be at the church office on Saturday from 10 to 2. June 14th.
That's like the Saturday before Father's Day. It's like trying to think. So it's till 2 o'clock as well.
I put it from 10 to 2 because that is the maximum time that it should take us to get through it. Some days we could be done earlier. Some days, about 2 o'clock will be the, like, I'm keeping you at till 2 and that's it. Beyond that, I'll let you know. Today? Today we might be done earlier. We'll probably be done earlier today. Probably won't go till 2, maybe 12. June 14th. Oh yeah, I got more. Everyone got that one? Okay. June 28th. They're all Saturdays. June 28th. Everyone got it? Probably one or two of these meetings will probably go till 2. I can't, like, all of them probably won't, like, today probably for sure won't go till 2.
You try to make sure that other one doesn't go till 2.
Because we have so much to get through in the next couple of months that we'll have to do, it'll probably go that long. So I'm just letting you know now. July 19th. June 14th, 28th. July 19th. Okay, and August 2nd.
Oh.
July what, sorry?
19.
19. If I have to be here August 2nd and my week is like 6 days after that, you guys can all be here. You can figure out how to.
It's already booked.
That's fine. I'll get you a one-way ticket back. Where are you going? Florida. It's like $100.
It's not a ticket.
You can drive.
No,
Even
I'm
better.
driving.
Yeah,
Unless
you
you
drive
pay for
back.
my
You
flight.
can drive back.
Very funny.
Also, there are 3 other dates I need you to be aware of. They are Friday nights, I believe, except for one of them is a Saturday night. There are fundraiser dates. So Ramona has graciously offered to help us out with fundraisers and coming up with some concepts to help us raise some money and bring your costs down. But obviously that means that we all need to be involved in being part of the fundraiser to bring our costs down to go. So May 31st, which is a Saturday, we're going to do a garage sale. And I'm going to be working with Ramona how we're going to get some items to get donated to us and we can sell them off. And, I'm working out those times. It would probably be during the afternoon or morning, whatever it is. How garage sales work. I've never done it, so I have no idea. Good morning. There you go.
Sorry, early.
Good morning. The June 20th is a Friday night. We're going to do a cafe night. So some of you are talented in the arts will probably be involved in those aspects. And so
Sorry, is that a Friday?
I believe it is a Friday.
We have you on 20.
Yeah. Probably be a good idea. Yeah. June 20th. Anyone check? Is that a Friday?
It
Okay,
is.
it is. Okay. Friday night. And then August 1st, which is also a Friday night. Waving at me. I'm aware of the youth part, and so we will have to work that one out with those who are involved in youth. August 1st, we're going to do what Ramona has called a gala night. So kind of doing, if anyone's ever seen a gala, like in a movie or anything like that, kind of like there'll be a silent auction, you dress up, you have dinner, that kind of stuff. It helps raise money. So Ramona's working on getting some bigger ticket items that we can auction off, so it helps us with our bring our funds down.
So the 31st is Saturday, and the 20th and August
1st are Friday nights.
Friday night.
Both of those will be nights.
And also, okay.
And they will be at Ramona's house, because she's got a nice backyard, right, Rick? Got a nice backyard,
Yes,
the fire pit, you
Rick
know.
takes care of that backyard. May 31st.
So those are important dates to be aware of. And again, really like you to be part of all of those as possible, because then it obviously helps us create unity, helps us establish ourselves as a team. So I'm giving you those dates now, so that way you can plan your schedules accordingly. Any questions beyond that? No, we're okay. Okay, that was a few housekeeping things I want to do. I'm gonna get Kels to come up, and he's just gonna open our morning in a word of prayer. Start our day off right, and then we'll get through our stuff.
Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord. We thank you for another opportunity to serve you today, oh Lord. We thank you for everything you continue to do in our lives, and we thank you, God, that you've twinged us in our heart and made us feel called to missions, oh Lord. And this particular mission in question, God, we know that if we feel this tweaking, that you're making a way for us, Lord. So we're trusting you with everything, even sometimes when we can't see the end from the beginning, but we know you're calling us to something, Lord, and we're trusting you in this, Lord. So on this first day, Lord, of these empowerment sessions, Lord, as we prepare for the work that you have, God, we just open up our hearts and our minds, Lord. We submit everything to you, oh God, and we ask you, Lord, to just continue to protect us and carry us through. Bless all those in this team today, oh Lord. Begin with our unity now, Lord. Let us be one combined force for your power and your will, oh Lord. Bless John as he helps lead us through these things, Lord. Bless our pastors, oh God, who engineered all these things. Bless the team in the Dominican, Lord, and the pastors there, God, as they continue to do this great work. And let's be in one mind and one heart in Jesus' name. Amen.
Awesome. So before we start getting into kind of like our training bits a little bit, I just want to ask a question. I like discussion a little bit, like getting to know where you're at and who you are. I want to ask a question. Why Dominican for each and every single one of you? Why did you choose to be a part of it? What prompted you? I know I've read I've read all of your applications, and so I've gotten a little bit of a heart for where you're at. But I just want to hear from you, like why you chose to be a part of this mission trip, or what you felt God was prompting in you, what you want to see accomplished in your life, Dominican, what you want to see out of it, how you want to see God use you, any of those things. Anybody? Angela?
And scripture talks about to go out into all the nations, and I want to be able to fulfill what God is calling me. It's not something that I necessarily need to pray about, unless there were major circumstances in my life that would prevent me from going. But I know it's the Word of God. There's a love there. It's been brought to our house. Pastors have been put on pastor's heart. So I'm drawn to what pastors are listening to when they're hearing from God. I know if it's from the Lord, I personally want to do what God has called me to do. It could be anywhere. It could be at 7-Eleven.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else?
I think for me, before I even really got involved in any ministry here, I had a meeting with Ken at the time, and pastors and stuff like that. And one of the things I said was really on my heart was outreach. And I didn't know to what capacity I was going to be involved in, but I said whatever I can do when the opportunity presents itself, I would really love to be a part of it. I didn't have an opportunity to go last time due to other circumstances. So even when the team came back and just seeing the pictures and hearing the story, at that, like, it just came alive in my spirit. I said, whatever is next, I want to be a part of. And it just came back where Pastor Kevin was just like, we're going again next year. And I was like, okay, this is it. If I don't take this opportunity, then now that's just me declining. But I just want to get involved anyway, just as Angela said, what the word says, to go out to all the nations. And I think wherever, because we are blessed in the society that we live in, so it's time to just give back and to pour into others.
Good.
For me, I love to, give to people. I love to be obedient to, obviously, the call of God. That's one of the things He sent to us when He was leading, as He was leading. That's how important it was. So I am thankful that I'm getting opportunities to do it. And it never, I guess, financially, never ever seemed like it's very easy. But I feel like, yes, as Kel says, because God put it on our heart, He is going to provide a way. And so I feel this excitement to be able able to be of use for God to touch others. And when I went, it was powerful because not only did we were a blessing to them, they were a blessing to us. Like, you felt in your heart, you see God working in their hearts, you see, just the way how they responded, what was happening, it was powerful. And so it was a two-way thing. And when you give, you get elated in yourselves. The word is you're admonished by what's going on, the both ways. So I really love to do this. I'm thankful that I'm in a house that opens the door for us, and as many times as I can, I'm going to try my best.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
For me, I just find it to be a privilege and an honor to reach out to people across the world, and it's just really exciting. I've always had the passion to go to other nations and I guess reach out to people and see churches grow and all kinds of stuff. So, like Felicity said, like the fact that we have them in our church and the door open, the opportunity is there. It's like, okay, go for it. So.
Just to help out, just like I do everywhere else, help out where I can, whether it's construction or cleaning or spreading the word, just to get out there.
Okay, good. All right, so part of this trip that I actually find this a privilege that Kels is actually me and Kels, along with pastors, are going to help lead you guys, and as we go into this mission, into this trip. I had the privilege last year, wasn't expecting it. I thought I was just kind of coming to be a part of the trip, and then I ended up having to lead the trip. And so it was definitely a privilege, and hopefully I did a decent job doing it. But just so you know, I'm excited to have Kels step up and be a part of our leadership team for this mission. And he's got a lot of experience in missions, and so he's just going to come up. He's just going to share a few things just about like what missions looks like in all aspects. Because sometimes we focus on the trip, right? But there's more of that than just the trip. And so he's going to come quickly just talk about that.
I'm not even sure where to start because I'm kind of like John. Truthfully, John, I really don't know a lot about missions. What I know from missions is my trip last year to India, and like John, I thought I was just going to be part of it, and then you're asked to do something else. But kind of like Clint, I took missions on the same way like I've taken everything stuff from the church. I just wanted to help. It wasn't nothing more than that. I just want to help where I am. Open the door, clean the toilet. I don't care. I just want to help. And it's not really big for me. It's really simple and really small. I just want to help. But what I found out in going to missions, at least last year, I didn't even know if I really wanted to go. It was something I saw come to the screen. Oh, that's cute. And then I found myself writing my pen on the page. The page kept coming. I kept writing my name. Like, what the heck is that about? And I had to really ask God about, like, what's that about? And then as I got closer, and then as I got there, it just became so much more. In fact, maybe for some of you like me, if I didn't have a wife and kids, you probably wouldn't have seen me again. That's straight. I would have stayed. I would have stayed with Monique. And now I would be absolutely fine. I've never been more comfortable than I am in those situations. And so what missions is, even though I'm not sure what your concept is coming in or why necessarily in your heart of hearts are really going for, but if it's really about helping others and making a difference somewhere else and being selfless, then you're going in the right place. Because it will really test you on being selfless. Mission does a lot of things. It will do a lot of things for us there, because when we get there, really truly, it's about leaving everything that is you and everything you know in the background. You come with a clean slate, no preconceived notions, no ideas about nothing other than helping in whatever way you can. So the best way I've found for us to be in those moments is just whatever is needed, we do. And there's going to be things that not necessarily your thing, ain't necessarily comfortable with, but you got to remember, like, the thing that's carrying you is God, right? Like, we're on a trip, but you got to remember God's carrying you. So you know what? We're a group, we work together, we help each other. And sometimes you don't think you may be doing necessarily the greatest job because it isn't your thing. But for those who are receiving, God steps in and it comes something else. What you're doing is one thing, what God's doing is another thing. Right? And let God attach that and amplify that as they see it and experience it. So it's everything in this lifetime for me as my days go forward. It's so much about just trusting God in these things, trusting what He's placed in your heart, trusting what He's going to do, because He's going to do something when you're willing.
Right.
So it's really a lot of times about fighting your flesh, fighting the things you're comfortable with, fighting the things that you know, fighting your ideas of how this is supposed to go and that's supposed to go, and just letting it go. You got to be free and willing to go where things move us at the time. Because we may have ideas about what we're doing, and the Holy Spirit tells Pastor Kevin, or tells John, tells us, no, we're going this way.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you got to be willing to blow up the wind and go this way.
Yeah.
When you put enough resistance, it does so much against what God's trying to do in you, and what God's trying to do with the team, and the way for those to receive. So when we're coming, it's going to be a lot of new things. A lot of things are going to be new. You're going to meet new experiences. You're going to meet new people. You're going to see maybe things that you're not even accustomed to seeing. You have ideas about, but seeing things in real life is a different thing. So you just have to really have an accepting heart. Come non-judgmental. Doesn't matter. Like I heard one thing, you're gonna see people with dirty clothes and dirty this. You're gonna see people that really have nothing. And our concept of nothing is one thing, but when you really see something nothing, right? It's a different thing altogether. So you're gonna see people with nothing, but they're God's.
Right.
Always keep that in mind. You know, when I used to work at St. Mike's, there used to be these guys that they lived on the street, and some of the guys just poke fun and whatever the case may be. But one day I sat with Jimmy McNeil and speaking with him and finding out like, how does he end up in this situation? He lost his wife and kids, lost it, been roaming the streets ever since. That's his life now. So sometimes what you see, there's so much more to the picture than just what you see. Yeah, you saw this young man, this person that have nothing. There may be generations of having nothing, but they're a person with a story and aspirations and wanting to do something. You know, for a lot of them, maybe all they know is baseball. For a lot of them. But that's their dream, and they're holding on to that.
That's right.
I mean, our job and our opportunity that we get is really to expand that vision that God is able to do so many things for you, and to trust Him with every little thing. So, as we go down there, you're gonna be challenged. You're gonna be challenged in your being comfortable, right? That could be from weather to food. I'm talking in every area possible. So every comfort of nature, if you can put that at the side and just be ready to go where that goes, you're gonna be in a good place. And don't be upset that you're being tested. Understand it. A lot of things that make it easy is having a conscious commitment and a conscious understanding. Understand I'm gonna have some challenges. Understand there are gonna be some tough days. Once you have that understanding, allow yourself to have that understanding when they come, you see it coming. You know it's gonna come, so you're prepared for it. Prepare yourself for all the things that will challenge you, and prepare yourself to go past your limits. It does so much for you. Wherever you think you are, prepare yourself and allow yourself to say, you know what, God, I'm going to let you take me someplace. God's really taking you on a journey. I know you're going to go down there to help, but God's taking you on a journey as you're helping others. That's what really happens in this time. So while you're down there, be prepared for all those things. Be prepared for the unexpected. Bus may break down. We may have to lug something. It may rain when you expect the sunshine. Like there's so many different things going all the time. Just prepare for it. Be the OL. Be the OL person, and it's gonna be good. You save yourself so much less stress when you're the OL person. Oh well, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Make it easy for your team. Make it easy for yourself. Make it easy for those that you're trying to help, because they see all these things in you. They're very perceptive. People are perceptive. So when you're talking God, but you're struggling with everything in the way you do it, they see that. This has got to be a joy. It should be a joy to help somebody. It should be a joy to do this. It should be a joy to do God's work, whatever it is. If God told me to clean toilets for the next 20 years, I'm good. For real. For real. Because that's what it's all about. We're aspiring to something that's higher, and we're aspiring for the things that God is placing for us and helping us do. And these are the things we'll carry you through. And as you go through, each day will be different. Prayer is important. Praying for each other, praying for the team, praying for those around, praying for the people, praying for success. Even as the different things that we engage in, like we do in church, we pray under our breath. We do all these things because as we're trying to do something, the enemy's going to be trying to do something.
That's
Right? It isn't a free fall. Like we're doing work and we're forging through something with God's help. So there will be resistance.
Yeah.
It's not just we and we're good.
Right.
No, there is going to be resistance,
Yes.
right? And understand the resistance coming. So that's why prayer is so important. Praying the days before, praying from now, praying like every day, praying for the team at nights when you think about wherever they may be going. Because as each one of us are preparing, the enemy's going to be doing things to get at us, even as we prepare to get to this place that we're in.
Yes.
So prayer is so important. Praying with each other, praying for each other. While we're down there, like we said, being responsible for all the things that John spoke, like all the little details we need to be. So we need to be organized with what we're doing for ourselves. So we are really prepared. Even in advance, preparing your home, preparing everything for the times you're away. Like all these little things are important because it takes the stress away from you as you're going. Because things are in order. Let's get our houses in order before we go and start doing something
Right.
God's right?
Come on.
So all those things are important. And then as we're coming back from the trip as well, I expect something to happen for you. And John, I was talking, if something doesn't shift in you, then you miss the whole thing. You miss the whole thing of what missions really does and what it's about. Then I would say it was about you and not about the people in God.
Right.
Right? If you're coming to this for something for you, so to speak, you really miss it. God does so much more when you add it for Him and for others. That's where He starts, and then He takes care of you in the midst of it. Coming back, or when you return back, or by the time you return, something will be different. I don't know what or how, but something will be different for me. I just had a real tough time with the things that God has enabled me to have. The little things, a little roof over my head, food in my stomach, clothes on my back. I just really wasn't into it too much when I got back. I had a real problem with people. It took a little while to readjust.
Jeez, come on.
Everybody just really seemed a little ignorant and a little too into themselves and really missing life. It took me a while. I had to bite my tongue a lot. Even with church folk. It was just, you see things and your perspective just shifts so much. Everything seems so trivial. The squabbles at church, the squabbles between people.
Come on.
Really?
Really?
Like, come on, man. We're just kicking it with a guy and two 15, 16-year-olds with a newborn baby in the middle of nothing that has nothing, coming from nothing, going to nothing, and you're squabbling about coffee?
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it would really shift something.
Yes.
And it's a good thing. It is really a good thing. It'll propel you. It'll move you. It'll be part of what journey God has you on, where He's trying to take you for things further. You'll be asked to step up at some point in time. There'll be opportunities for all of us, even in what we do, to watch God's glory shine through us in whatever thing it is. If it's hammering a nail, if it's singing a song, if it's help, whatever it may be, God will just take the opportunity to do something in us. We just need to be receptive and accept what's happening and enjoy the journey. Make it enjoyment. Sometimes it's hard to say enjoy the struggle, but sometimes you gotta enjoy the struggle. If you can really allow yourself just to focus on it at that point, and just, God, I don't know what you're doing, man, but you're gonna work this out. It's just enjoy the struggle. It just does so much. It changes the whole. The trip or the movement that we do as we're working with God just turns into something else. It becomes so powerful when everybody's just willing. Just be willing. That's the biggest thing I can offer is just be willing and make things easy on pastor. Make things easy on John. Make it easy on the minister. Make it easy on the people. Because there may be things that we do in the midst of the mission that is so North American, because that's in you.
Right.
You really got to kick some things back.
That's right.
And spend your time watching and learning and understanding and being perceptive to how they do things and not being offended by anything that may happen.
Right.
You get cussed out, roll with it. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to happen, right? Because you may be doing something that is culturally the norm here, out of habit, that is not culturally the norm there, So it's all these little things. Remember, you're in a foreign land, a foreign place. Just, whenever you first come to a new country, like your first day at school, how you like a child, you just kind of, it's pretty much the same thing. You just come ready and willing, and just gauge yourself. before you just step out and lose your mind, right? Just gauge it, and always remember. We always need to remember that we're representing Christ.
Yeah.
You gotta remember that no matter what you do, even when we're representing Christ, we're representing the pastor, we're representing our church, we're representing our church that's connected to the church that's down there.
Right.
We're their big brothers and sisters.
Right.
We're one big family, so we're gonna go home fast. So that the mission will really take you through a lot of things. Like I said, you'll learn a lot of different things. Beforehand, get those things in order, praying, doing what you can to get yourself ready. Even read up about the place we're going. Things about the country. Talk to those that have been there last year. For though I know we have some Spanish people, I'm gonna try to pick up a few things here and there just to help me along the way. Check with them to see if you're right. I mean, all these little things help you. Even for a nation you're going to, just to see the fact that you're trying, tells them something. Make them a priority, and when you're there, continue to work, continue to just be at our best. We observe the rules. It's really a lot of simple things, but a lot of things will happen. But really be prepared to see God do some great things, and be prepared for every challenge, even if it scares you. There's some things that we go through and think, oh God, can I even do this? Well, all right, God, I'm giving it to you. We just really give it to God and go with it, and He will make something of it, whatever it is, because you have a willing heart and you're wanting to do this thing for Him. Prepare for a great change. I mean, you're going to be somebody different when you get there. Really, really true, and it's going to be really good. It'll change the way you look at life. It'll change probably the things you do and how you do, and it'll make way for other things coming down the road. Because God's peeling layers off us, right? We're onions, right? And He's continually peeling, and it's really going to be good. And if anything, note the things for yourself. Keep journal while you're down there. It's a good thing to do. Note the differences in yourself as you go through your journey. It's always good to look back and say, wow, look at that. I was thinking this, and look what I'm feeling now. Look how I'm looking at things now. Look at the differences I see in myself now. And hold on to them. Life and the days after will eventually mold you back into Canada. It kind of comes with it. But there's always a piece of those trims of those things you go, just keep it in your heart. It will open things up for you so great, and it will change your perspective about people. We're talking about relationship and all those things. I mean, we get to live out the relationship, the empowerment, the growth, the generosity. We get to live all of these things down here. Our core values, we get to do it in this mission trip. Every single area of it. So exemplify the excellence, exemplify. Remember all those things. Pastor talked about having it ingrained in our heart. We have it ingrained in our heart, not just for those that are there, but for those on mission trips. Because we show that in everything we do. We're generous with our time and with our finances, all the things we do, and we're excellent in the way we do it, and all those things. And we're going to serve everybody that crosses your path. They have something or nothing. They're on a little bike. They don't want whoever it is. We just serve, and then we do God proud.
Cool. So you can really hear the passion right there, right? You can really hear the passion for missions there. And so I'm excited. For me, my start for kind of God's work in my life was in Dominican. Like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I went with the same ministry team, same place. And I went to school. A week later, they're asking me to go on this trip. I'm like, you're giving me 1 week to decide to go on a trip. That's like a month later. They're like, yeah. It's like you have to decide, and it's $1,600. I'm like, okay. And I raised my money in 2 days. I'm like, okay. 4 people. I was 4 people. I just talked to 4 people, and they gave me the money. Right? So I'm like, okay.
What's up? Because you probably won't know. Some people may be worried about the money aspect. And it's a real understanding. I was kind of like John the same way. Last time, because India was a little bit more expensive.
Like
See, she still got effects from it. It was the same thing. I didn't know how, and I didn't know how the money's going to come, even for this trip, same way. But you got to believe God's bringing you, and if He's really calling you to do this, and it was the same like John. I praise God. Even something He gave me an idea. I went to talk to some of the people at the hospital, and they kind of put it in their newspaper, so to speak. And then people just started coming out of the woodwork. Like people just, nurses, I don't know, people just started coming. And the money just came. We paid for an entire trip. So pray about it. Trust God. Because like John, in 2 days, that's come on.
Things happen sometimes. When God's in the middle of it, things happen. You're surprised, right? All things are possible for Him, right? So
That's right.
I don't think $1,500 scares Him. So I personally got my first-hand experience of where God has me going and what He wants me doing in Dominican, and it all came out of like Kels was saying, a willingness to just to do whatever it takes, right, to be there and be part of it. And Kels brought up a good point, which was I was actually already going to go into, is understanding our core values of our church. Because part of it is, we're obviously number one, we're representing God, but we're also representing our house. Right? We're representing our church body. We're an extension of our whole campuses here in Canada as we go there, and so people do watch, people see how we are, and not just people in the Dominican watch, the missionaries watch that are there, and they very much pointed out to us many times, they're like, there's something unique about the way you guys do things. It's totally different. And they could pick out our core values. One of them was relationships. Absolutely, one of them was relationships. Why? Because they couldn't get us onto the truck at the end of the church. So it was like, we're all talking to people, like, Sadik and Pastor Kevin running across the street into the local bar, talking to all the guys in the local bar. Some of us are half down the street, others are half down the other street. They're trying to gather us all to get on the truck. Right? It's late at night because it's dangerous, so they're trying to get us back and going. So they have their reasons for doing it, right? But we're just following our core values and just knowing people and getting to know people, And so it's good to understand and know why we function in our core values, because it represents our house, it represents what we believe and where God has us going. And so, anyone tell me what the first core value is? Empowering. You start from the right, I start from the left. Empowering. I start from the left too, so empowering. Okay, anyone tell me what empowering is? Like, what does it mean? Oh, you memorized that?
And relevant programs
Both.
to church and
So,
Interrupt me,
anyone know the scripture references?
2 Timothy
2:2.
2:2.
Matthew
19:20.
There you go. So obviously part of that is what I find important in the empowering is that it's to church and non-church. Right? So we're gonna go into communities where we do things that are for both church and unchurch. We did health and safety. We did food programs. We made bags of food and we gave it out to people. Right? Those are practical things.
I never
Right?
forget the first church too.
Which one? The little church?
First church, the big church.
The big church. Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
stuff.
The nice one. Yeah. The big city church.
And there was an impact there.
Yeah.
Yes, really.
So it is good. It's good to know that that we do it. We disciple others through our ability to do things for saved and unsaved alike, right? And so anyone know the second one? Excellence. Definition.
Always reaching to the next level, personally and corporately.
Again, what's the important part there?
Always.
Always reaching, but there's another part that I think is very important. Personally and
And
corporately. Because sometimes we think of it personally,
Just by ourselves.
we forget corporately, right?
Right.
And we're a church body, we're a family together, right? So we reach for excellence together, right? Which means sometimes we push each other and we're like, come on, keep going. Or we remind each other, hold each other accountable, right? So always striving for excellence in whatever we do, right? Third one? Generosity. Definition, that is not Julian McMahon. There's always one person like that, right?
I like that at school.
Yeah,
And my
it's okay.
professor says the same thing. He
We
goes,
have kids like that.
anybody but Julie, please answer this question.
Generosity, that one's easy. Anyone? Creating a culture that produces. Okay, so she still ended up saying it.
I was thinking of it on another level of just giving up yourself.
Yeah, giving of yourself,
At all
basically.
times, like, be obedient to give of yourself and of your finances to God and to others in the church.
Right, so just being generous in who you are, and it's not doing it from the heart that says, oh, God told me to do this, alright. No, it's generosity is very much a bodily action too, right?
That's right.
Because people can see it, right? People seeing the way you react in your body action, they can see whether you want to do it or not do it. So, just because you say yes doesn't mean you're not being rebellious in your yes. So, I'm not saying anyone does that, but it happens. Fourth one. It depends. I would go to relationships, but
Well, I was doing alphabetically because.
okay. So someone just tell me one. Tell me one.
Relational.
Okay, relationships, right? So
Relationships.
always building relationships, with
Saint
loving
and
mentoring from all
Saint.
cultures,
Right.
you know, both church and unchurch.
Saint
Right.
and
So what you're gonna find in Dominican is that predominantly, obviously, with Dominican, so it's going to be Dominican. But what you're gonna also see is a handful of pockets of Haitians, right? Because Haiti is an island right beside it. And in Dominican, Haitians are not really. They're like
Lower
frown. Yeah, they're lower caste system, right? It's a culture there. It's a lower caste system, right? But we don't follow that. We don't believe that. It's not biblical mandate for us, right? You know, we love people regardless of who they are, right? We don't see those lines. So, so I challenge you to make sure that you don't see those lines either. So, for fifth one,
Is that intentionally multicultural?
sure, we'll go there. Intentionally multicultural, following the relationship, right? So you build those bridges with all cultures, you know, anybody and everybody, right? So what you're gonna find with Dominican, I'll talk about Dominican because we're here, is that some of the basic elements of Dominican culture is that they're very warm people, right? And they like to greet you with hugs, kisses, and they'll get right up in your personal space, like right up in your personal space. There you go. So if that is something that is uncomfortable for you, you're gonna have to figure out how to make that work for a week.
Yes.
I'll tell you that because that is something that's uncomfortable for me. Because sometimes, you know, Pastor Kevin will come and have a conversation like this close to you, right? And I personally just take a step back. It's just me. I like having a space. I have a personal bubble kind of thing, like where I just don't like someone to keep right up my face. I'm like, it's who I am. But in the Dominican, those things don't happen. It's just not. There's not a mindset. So I have to get over that, and I had to, right? And why? Because I want to make sure that I'm building bridges. I'm not holding myself back or holding other people back. Dominicans speak very loud and over each other and use a lot of hands. How do you know that? Watch Marlene. It's just like this all the time, right? So, and it's not out of anger, right? So it's just who they are, and they're just very loud. They're very it's a lot of personality that comes out very fast. They're very hospitable and generous. No matter what they have or don't have, they will offer it up to you, right? They live in a small house and there's 10 people at their door. They're bringing you all in, right? They're telling your kids to get out of the church. They're trying to make it all work for you, right? That's just how they are. They'll bring all the food that they have, and it may not be much for them, but they'll bring it and give it to you, right? I remember when I went the first year, not last year, but when I went my first time, went to this pastor's house, and his wife went to the corner store, ran to the corner store, bought like hot dogs, and then brought it back and cooked it, but it wasn't cooked all the way through, but we're like, okay, we'll just eat it anyway, because she went and they spent the money that they didn't even really have, because they weren't getting paid, right? Like they were doing the church, but they weren't getting paid to do it, right? So they had odd jobs they do here and there, so they just spent whatever they had and brought it because they're hosting people, right? Because that's what it is. They're generous people. So, you know, we had to eat hot dogs and they weren't really cooked all the way through, but that was okay. You know, you just have to get over it and just be like, okay, that's fine, and just smile and be like, So don't refuse and don't ask, right? So, you know, you don't want to go above and beyond and say, well, can I have this or can I have that? Like, you know, I drink mineral water. Right?
Mineral water
So
around
you
here.
just gotta get over it. So, so the other thing is, you will hear a lot of music, people dancing in the streets, in church. It's very lively, right? So, and that won't be new to us because that's something we experience in our church very often, right? So, but very quickly you'll see that there is many different types of styles of worship. So when we went to the big city church, it was very quieter, it's very structured, right? Very modern in some it was very North American church, right? But then when we go into some rural communities, right, it was very lively, very, you know, like, we went to that one church, they had a conga, right? One conga. A little 12-year-old, he just came up and started playing it, and then another kid that had looked like a cheese grater, a big cheese grater, and like a pick.
A shape thing.
Yeah, like a pick, a metal pick, and he just, they created a beat. And the 12-year-old kid, I swear, he didn't even, like, he wasn't even paying attention, but he was still on beat. He's just like looking around, just like, talking to the person beside him, and he's still on beat, and like, and they would like time at him. It was cool, right? I had no idea what they were singing. It was all in Spanish, so I'm just like, hey, and just talking, you know. But that's just what it is, right? So pleasantries are very important, you know, like saying please, thank you, goodbye, things like that, because they're very generous, they're hospitable, they're people, right? So they always come at you and they're always talking to you and trying to get to know you. So being polite is very important. So yeah, and like I said, expect your personal boundaries to be crossed because it's in their culture they just want to get to know you. So if they don't see it that way, they just come at you, right? So like they wouldn't understand if you were to walk around with headphones in your ear.
Wow.
We're so used to that here. Like you see, like that. This happens a lot with youth, right? But you see them with headphones in their ear, and you're used to it. They're like, oh yeah, they don't want to be bothered, right? But if you were to do that there, they don't understand that. Like you're working construction, you put headphones in because you're like you're in the zone, you're working construction, but they would not understand that, right? Because they're talk to each other, it's community, right? It's one-on-one type of stuff. So so it's things like that. Like sometimes we take it for granted, we don't really think about it, but that's how the culture is there, right? So that's our fifth value or sixth. What's the next one? Serving. Being there to I believe it's called create teams that reach dreams, right? So honestly, when you serve, you unlock something in you. You unlock something that you didn't think that you would even have, right? A gifting, an ability, something you wouldn't even know it, right? And so by being willing to serve, like Kels was saying, just willing to do something that maybe someone else wouldn't do, right? Like Jesus came to wash the disciples' feet. The master of masters washed the disciples' feet, the things that no one else would do. Remember, disciples had no shoes, right? They're walking around bare feet from time, like their feet were probably nasty. But what did Jesus do? Wash their feet. Being able to do whatever it takes, right? Because for the big picture, will unlock something in you. I guarantee that. Guarantee it. I will make that guarantee. So, and then the last one is the one. Oh, that one's under the foundation. Yes. Okay. You say grow. Yeah, I said grow, but that threw you off. Yes. And growing, right? So constantly making sure that we ourselves are growing, but we're doing what it takes to compel people towards Christ, right? So sometimes we'll do certain things that are unique, right? We've done. I don't know if we did this last year. I can't remember because I'm mixing up my years. But we did a movie night. There was once a movie. Did we do that last year? No. So when I'd gone, then they did a huge movie night in the community, and they watched Facing the Giants. Right? It's a Christian movie, but they put it in Spanish so that people could know what it was. I swear it's so much better in Spanish than because the acting's corny, but the people who did the dubbing in Spanish did a so much better job in their voice expression. I was just like, oh gosh, it's so much better. I'm like, I like this, but I'm just gonna watch it in Spanish with English subtitles from now on. Right? But and we reach people that way, and we are always in our church. We do so many things that compel people towards Christ, whether it's in ministries or in our events, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Canada Day, whatever they are, men's paintball, women's events, whatever it takes. And so same thing in Dominican. We're going to do different things. Like in high schools, they've been getting a cool opportunity to go into high schools and talk about, like bullying and peer pressure and all those kind of things that kids are facing these days, while also bringing in the gospel. And these are public high schools, I might add. So they've only at this point been able to get into Christian schools, right? But now they're able to get into all the public high schools, right? And so they're trying to work it out for us because they're off in the summer, and when we go is the start of the school. And usually they kind of do this stuff in the middle. So they're trying to get us into a couple of schools, even though it's the start of the school, so that we can go in and do that kind of stuff. But always trying to do something different so that we can reach everybody, right? So, so understanding our core values are important. And you've heard, obviously, most of you heard our pastor's heart on that Sunday night. Of knowing where our direction is, right? Going in the same direction, so that we're all flowing the same way, reaching the same goal. So on a side note, not that I expect anybody to do this, but it's always a good reminder is don't complain, right? It sounds obvious, it sounds really like almost immature to say it, but you would be surprised how far you get tested while you're away, right? When we were there last year, we're going long days, like waking up 6 in the morning, you put on your clothes, it's hot, it's sweaty already, you're in a cold shower, then you're going off to do construction all day, right? And then you have to bring your clothes with you and toilet paper, and then you change at the end of the day, like right there, and go off to the next thing. Like you're not going back to shower or anything. Like you just change out of your construction clothes into something that's decent, and we're off to a pastor conference or a men's conference or women's conference or a kids thing or something. Like right out of the day, right? And then you get back at midnight and you have sand and stuff in your ears and your hair. And, like you just do your best, right? But you have to do it because that complaining is just not going to help you, right? Complaining just like it hinders you, It hinders your ability for God to use you. It hinders your team, right? You hinder the people that you're ministering to, right? Because you're like, oh well, I'm feeling this or feeling like that, and you know what? It's natural. It's our human body that says it's tired, or we're craving sleep or food or something. Water. It is what it is, right? But you have to be able to say, you know what? Like I'm gonna do my best to take care of myself, right? Eat breakfast, eat lunch, eat dinner. And they're not gonna treat us like inhuman. Like Felicita, they didn't do that, right? They fed us really well.
Yes.
Like our living conditions were more
Very
than
nice.
good,
Yes.
right? Like I when I did this last year, I like basically put it like to a round one, like just don't expect anything. No, I already knew what to expect, but I just wanted to set in everyone's mind that don't expect it to be the Hilton, right?
That's right.
So like just expect the worst, but then you come in and it's like, oh, it's not the worst, then you're good, right? So, but there was no hot water. You can't use the water there. You have to do everything like gotta go the bottled water, get a cup of water, put it on your toothbrush, brush your teeth. That's just how it is, right? Bugs may get in, stuff like that. It happens, right? So I just want to remind you that complaining just won't help you. It won't help you, won't help your team. And just be prepared for really, really long days, like 18, 19-hour days. It just and it happened a couple of days in a row, and it is what it takes to kind of jam-pack everything we need to do in a week, right? So that we are serving as much as we can and reaching out to others as much as we can. And so I'm going to give you a few keys for successfully working in a different culture. So I'm hoping that you may take some notes, jot some of these down. I think I gave you some space for it. Or if you want to write it on like your phone or whatever works for you. So if you're ready, I will start listing them off. If you need a pen, there's someone behind Celine and Rashana. So you can grab one of those. Cool. Alright, first one is when you're working in another culture is to know yourself. Know thyself. It's important because you need to know your strengths, you need to know your weaknesses. You need to know you can't come in and say, I'm Superman and I can do this, or Superwoman, I can do this. Like there's nothing I can't do. I believe you could do everything, but it has to be in the right spirit, right? So you have to know your limitations. I know my limitations is dance. I'm not going to get up there and dance. I'm going to make a fool of myself, right? And I'm going to look dumb. It would defeat the purpose of what I'm trying to do, right? So,
Make sure you dance.
But I will dance, yes. But I won't put me and Amber are not going to put an interpretive dance together. It's not going to work. It won't work. Right? I gotta know my strengths. I gotta know my weaknesses, and it's not a bad thing to know that, right? It's not a knock on you to say like we all have weaknesses, right? So it's good to know them, and that's why your references, on there it says list 3 weaknesses of the person that you know. It's called a blind spot on your window of life, right? So where sometimes there's certain things in your life that you won't see, right? About your life, it's a blind spot, right? So others will see that, and that's why those references become important for you to know what others see in your strengths. You may not even recognize your own strengths sometimes, and your weaknesses. And they may not even be bad. And I've read most of the references, and they're not like, oh, this person's like the most terrible person in the world. They got such a bad attitude. Like, it wasn't like that. They're actually weaknesses that weren't even really weaknesses. It's just points of they can be encouraged more in this area, right? Like maybe they give up themselves too much and don't know how to say no, right? To the point where they don't even put themselves like in a place. They just do everything for others, and then they put themselves so low. Things like that, right? It's not even like really a bad thing. It's just a matter of like being mindful of each other. So it's important for you to know yourself, right? So I encourage you to, when you're at home or something, you're journaling or whatever, like ask other people around you, right? Like what are my strengths and weaknesses? Like someone you trust. Because you'd be surprised how quickly people tell you. And you're like, really? Right? People closest to you, right? Really? Like that's a strength, that's a weakness. Like for me, I never saw this as a weakness, but people told me like, John, you have a problem saying no. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you just don't say no to people. You always do things that people ask. I'm like, how is that a weakness though? They're like, well, it's a weakness because you do everything that people ask, but then you don't. By you doing it, you're not empowering others to do it. Right? So you get stressed out and you get run down and you get burnt out, but you haven't empowered others to do it because you know you have to do it. So it's a good thing that you want to do it and you have heart to do it. But because you took the pressure off from other people, because they're like, we need to get this done, you're doing it, right? Because you know you have to do it, but you haven't taught anybody else to help you along the way, and then by that you haven't empowered others. Never would have said that unless somebody told me. Right?
Wow.
It's a good thing. I wanted to serve, right? I want to serve. I want to be part of it, but I didn't empower others to do it, right? So it's important to know yourself and ask people that you trust that can help you, right? Second thing, an important key for a different culture is your cultural values will be challenged, right? So as many of you probably have been born in other countries or come from different backgrounds and stuff like that. We live in Canada, and somewhere around there is we have Canadian customs and cultural values, right? Because we all live here. I was born in a different country. I've lived in different countries, but my custom values are still Canadian, because I'm from here, right? So whether you know it or not, you're picking up a lot of things from here, right? But we live in a very multicultural context, right? So you pick up a lot of things from different cultures. So it's important to know that your cultural values will be challenged. What you like to eat will be challenged, right? What you don't like to eat also will be challenged, right? You know, maybe you don't like fried beans or refried beans. I don't know. Maybe you don't, but you might get that quite a bit, right? So you just have to know that your cultural values will be challenged. So the third thing is remember that the Canadian way is not the right way. That is a very important one. Canadian way is not the right way. North American way, actually, is probably the best way I should say it, is not the right way. So that comes into many different things. It comes into how we do ministry in a high school or a kid setting. It comes into how we do construction. That actually becomes a big problem sometimes in the Dominican because they do things very different, right? And our Canadian way says like that's not how we do it, right? So you know, like no, that's against regulation. Oh, you're supposed to be wearing gloves and hard stuff. Like, what are you doing? So I'm not lying. This didn't happen last year. This didn't happen last year for me. But when I was doing, because we did dirt right from the floor. When I did the first year, we did caliche, which is a brittle rock, right? So like they had a huge pile, right? And when it's in the sun, it bakes, so it becomes hard, like it kind of molds together. So you have to break it with a pickaxe, then go take it to where you want to put the floor. They put it down, they stamp it down, and then with the sun, it becomes hard. And then they put cement over it, right? So it's kind of getting the foundation. So we're sitting there and I'm breaking rock like all day. And all of a sudden this kid, like 8-year-old kid, is running up top the caliche rocks, bare feet, right? Little Dominican kids, like 8 years old, like they're all playing. Right? And then he just like slides down the whole huge rock. And that happened in Canada.
Oh gosh.
How quick were we to like get that kid off the rocks? Like, you know, like where's that kid's parent? What's going on? Right? Natural instinct in you is just like, get that kid off the rock. I'm thinking, I'm like, get that kid off the rock. But guess what? In Dominican, it doesn't matter. Kids run around, they're playing, this is what they do. It's just who they are as kids. In fact, there's one kid, he came down, started talking to me, I don't know what he was saying. Right? And I got his name, but you know, eventually, like for a couple of days, he was just talking to me, standing beside me, and then the next day I came back, he brought a potato sack with him, right? And as I broke rock, he just put the rocks into the sack, and then he put it in my wheelbarrow, right? Because I had to break it and then shovel it in, right? So he's just trying to help me without having to shovel it and just keep breaking it. And then by the time it got filled up, he would help me wheel it back to where it needed to happen. And he was with me for 2 days. But the kid didn't have gloves, they didn't have anything. He just sitting there on pickaxe and just like going like this in the bag, picking it up and putting it in. Your ways are going to get challenged in how we do things, right? And how they make concrete, right? Not the way we make concrete, right? And how they
first of all, we don't even know how to make concrete.
Yeah, so it gets challenged, right? And certain ways are challenging, like in how they did the floor and how they put concrete on the floor, and they use like garden rakes to rake the concrete everywhere and use a 2x4. You know, the only technology they would use in this whole construction project last year was the laser point. That's it. To make sure the floor is even. That's all they had. Everything else was straight up, you know, sifting the sand. Me and the son, going back and forth, back and forth. And then the son, he's like, oh, I'm like, dude, don't pull it that hard. I'm like, you know, he's like, rhythm. And then there's a hole in the sander, in the sifter. So we're like going like this, actually. We're trying to like sideways not get any sand, because it's rocks in the sand, right? So we want the pure sand. And then you shovel it into a wheelbarrow. But you got kids shoveling and helping you, right? Your ways get challenged, right? So, just remember that the Canadian way is not the right way, and we want to make sure that we're representing our church, we're representing God, and we take the advice of the missionaries, we take the advice of, because they have people that they pay to come and do the construction projects, because this is what they do. So like local people that we help support them. So There's a guy named Moreno and Orlando, right?
Two guys.
The machines.
They're good.
Like
Yeah.
the guy, I'm pretty sure the one guy was skinnier than me.
Yeah.
He picked up the wheelbarrow and we're making concrete. He's just like this. I'm like, okay. So I know I can probably lift about a quarter of the concrete in the wheelbarrow and wheel it through the concrete, right? Because it's on the floor. So and the wheelbarrow was like the wheel was flat, so you really have to push it, right? So I'm just like I can only lift about a quarter of it because it's hot. It's a full day. I'm like I'm not gonna push myself that far. So I'm like, okay. I put half. He's like, no. He's like this. I'm like, okay. Keep going, filling. This guy's like, keep filling. I'm like, thing was full, and then he picks it up and wheels it through all the concrete on the floor, and then takes it to the place because he's just like, I'm not gonna take 2 trips. Right? So he's one trip
Wow.
for me. Puts it up, flips it over, and then away he goes and doing it again. I'm like, this guy's skinnier than me. I'm like, he's right? But it's just not the way we would do things, right? But we got to remember that our way is not necessarily the right way, right? So keep that in mind. Yeah, you may be used to doing it a certain way, but remember, we're in the Dominicans. We do as the Dominicans, right? So we don't want to offend them. We don't want to say that, oh, you guys do everything the wrong way or anything like that. We just want to come and love them. That's really our heart, right? So which means sometimes it's learning something new, like how to pinete or whatever, like this on the walls, right? So you'd be surprised how effective their methods are. You know, I wouldn't probably agree with everything the way they're doing it, but they probably wouldn't agree with everything the way we do it either.
Right.
And that's okay, right? So a hindering point could be our sense of independence. So this could be a hindering factor to you. It's a good thing to be aware of, right? Just because you can do it by yourself doesn't mean that you should just do it by yourself, right? Like, okay, no, you go do something else. I got this, right? It's okay to have someone help you. Why? It's great ministry opportunities.
Right.
We may be building like a construction project, but it's a great way to get to know people, right? Like, yeah, you're doing work, but you're building something with other people, right? And there's a sense of bond, of family, like you're helping a community build, like we're helping a community build a church, right? We're getting to know this community, we're getting to know the people in this community, right? You know, and you're just like, okay, no, you go do that, like, I'm gonna do this because I'm only here to do the construction, and that's it. Like, you know, we miss out on what we're trying to do there, right?
Yeah.
So we want to be a part of what they're doing, and that comes with anything that we're doing, whether we're doing, you know, making food bags, or doing a kids program, or, you know, doing radio and TV, or men's or women's conference. You know, we want to be a big part of the bigger picture, always including like ourselves and our team members in it, but including other people, right?
Yeah.
Mentally separating biblical truth from cultural values. So we got to know what's true and what's biblically accurate, and what's just cultural, right? So obviously worship styles and how they choose songs is a cultural value, right? But what they're singing about is a biblical truth, right? So if they're going to sing about praising Satan, or if we're going to sing about praising Satan, well, that's just biblically inaccurate. We're not going to sing that song. But they may do a song that's more rocky in the way we're used to. Right? Doesn't mean that it's not biblical, it just means that that's their culture and that's just what they're used to. So, very much in the Dominican, you're going to hear a lot of Hillsong songs, right? A lot of, I don't know if now they do Jesus culture, I've heard a few of it, right? But it's very, like, they do a lot of the mainstream stuff because that's what they have access to, right? So they do a lot of the mainstream worship because it's bigger, they have access to it, so and it's translated into Spanish, so they can get it, and then they do it. So you're going to hear some songs that you're familiar with, you may hear songs that you're not familiar with, and that's okay, right? So we just have to know that different cultural values, you know, they do different things in different countries. But we just have to remind ourselves what's biblically true, right? And so root yourselves in what you know is biblically accurate. And that's where you, I always pray for a spirit of discernment to always know what's biblical and what's cultural. Biblical and cultural, right? You know, especially when I'm dealing with youth, I gotta know what's cultural and what they believe and what's Bible and what's not, right? So, and the last thing I have on here is to be kind, generous, and humble in all settings, right? So, just because we may have a full day and come back to the ministry house doesn't mean it gives you the freedom to just be who you, like, you know, like get angry at somebody or just throw a fit or throw a temper tantrum because you're tired or upset, right? Remind yourself to be in a spirit of kindness, generosity, and gentleness, right? So we're here to serve the nation of Dominican, specifically Nagua, but we're also here, we're serving each other. We're here as a family, right? So remind yourselves, you know, like, I want to make sure that I'm on point. I want to make sure that I stay with Christ at the center of this, right? But you know, I don't want to do someone else. I'm looking for a word, a specific word. I don't want to defeat somebody else, right? Just because I'm feeling this way, you know. You can talk to each other. That's why we're here as a team, right? You know, build at a moment where you can say like, you know, I'm feeling like this, or this, I'm overwhelmed in this or that, right? You know, and it's a good opportunity to pray with each other, encourage each other, right? But don't allow your emotions to get the better. It could happen. It's happened before. When I was, not last year, but in my first year, we had a couple of guys, I mean, we were all 18, 19, right? So it's a little bit more immature. But, like, you know, we were working hot days and come back, and when the one guy who had to sit on the top bunk asked the guy on the bottom bunk to just tilt the fan up because it was hot, and he's up the top, right? So he rises, right? So he's feeling really hot. And the guy down was just like, no. But he's just being dumb, like, he's just being sarcastic. And the guy at top just lost it, just lost it. Jumped off the bunk and, like, started fighting with him, like, full out, like, fist fight. I'm like,
You're hot.
wow. I'm like, Lord, this is not happening right, and you cannot, like, you're kidding, this is happening right, right? And like we're trying to break it up, and like, but it was for them. They were hot, tired, you know, like it's a long week, you know, and they just allowed their emotions to get better at them, right? And it destroyed a sense of unity that we had, right? And it took a little bit. We all had to work for it. Like we all had to work much harder to get that unity back in the house, right? You know, and we always want to be reminded that unity is important for our team, right? Even in the confines of our ministry house. Right? Because if we say something to one another and it rub off the wrong way, that affects how we do things outside of the ministry house, right? People pick up on that very quickly, right? So we want to make sure that that's how we're acting in accordance to that. And so I'm pretty sure this is on your sheet, but I just want to quickly highlight them. Some of our ministry activities that we're going to be doing. I'm still working through with Heather, who is overseeing like the administrative process for our trip. And so I'll highlight a few things that we're hoping that we can do, like men's and women's conferences, children's ministry activities, leadership training, so like pastor conferences, which is on Saturday. Some youth ministry opportunities like in the high schools, some door-to-door opportunity. The door-to-door was probably one of my highlights, personally. And I didn't even get to do it as much as some of the other team members did. But the moments I took it, they were real highlights, just to go into some of the houses, talk to people, pray with them, you know, and just see a hunger after God, right? So, building a church, doing some special meetings, some evangelism focus outreaches, like a feeding program, health and safety. There was talks about radio and TV. I'm still working on that one. I'm not 100% sure how that looks yet and what we will be doing with it, but as I get more details, I'll let you know. And then some human videos and drama. This year is very unique. We actually have quite a bit of people who are gifted in the arts, like music. So want to be able to try and put together a little worship team. So, and I have a few songs that maybe in Spanish that are more mainstream for them, that they catch it. You know, and so that whenever we go into a church or to a setting where they're like, yeah, could you do a song or drama or anything like that, then we're boom, we can step up and do that. I found very quickly last year that the skits were very powerful. In fact, it was probably like those points where it's like the foundation that's set for Pastor Kevin to build the house upon, right? When he went up just to preach, right? You know, so especially the one we did on the outdoor. So just like Kels was saying, like, you know, be prepared. One of the things that's in here that we talk about is that, you know, you plan, and then you plan for it to not go according to plan, right? So, so that's what we did on our big outreach into one of these communities that was rougher. We had this huge plan. We're going to go in, do this, do that. Like, we shut down the whole community. Like, the police force even shut down streets and all that kind of stuff. And it rained like crazy. Like, it just came down. So they found a little something that had somewhat of a covering, right? A garage, yeah, an outdoor garage. It had a little bit of a roof that came out. So they put all the chairs under that. They rigged up this, I don't know, like light bulbs, wiring, and just put it around to have lights because it was starting to get dark. Right? A truck pulled up and he just opened the side of it with speakers. Right? And it was just like, okay, right? And then they just pulled out wires, start setting up just like that, you know. And I'm looking, I'm like, okay, like we're supposed to do a skit. I'm like, how am I going to do this? I'm like figuring out how the team is going to do their skit. And I'm like, okay. And I look, and there's this garage. Like, you know, if you're like, you guys are all sitting under the garage. Think of it. There's a road right here, right? And it's just raining, pouring on the road. And I'm thinking, you know what? All these people have to do is just turn their heads this way, right? And we have all this space on the road. It's raining, I understand that. But while I was watching worship, all the men from the community were out in the rain worshiping. Right? So they all let all the women and kids sit under the thing, but they were all out in the rain standing and worshiping. I'm not just saying like this. I mean worshiping. Up and down, jumping up and down, running around, worshiping. So I gave me an idea. I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't hurt our team to get wet a little bit, right? So I challenged our team. I said, listen, I know it's not the most ideal circumstances, but I believe that this setting gives us a powerful opportunity to set the bar, right? Because the way the skit was designed, the rain actually helped us to set a stage, right? So I'm just like, let's use that. And so if you guys are all willing to do that, and I'll say yes, we're down. And I said, I know it's going to be physically more because you're on like pavement ground and you're jumping up and down and like pushing each other. It's just one of those skits, right? But I'm like, if you're willing to do this, I believe that it's going to set the bar. And they're like, yep, we are. And boom, it was powerful. It was extremely powerful. And you know what? Just because the devil tries things doesn't mean that God doesn't use whatever's there to bring it back to His glory, right? You know, and so the low rain didn't shut that down. That's for sure. So be prepared for those kind of things. So yeah, I have a standard for behaviors that I'm gonna give very quickly as well. That will help us kind of know where we're going. How to deal with stress and stress behavior. So always be on time for anything, right? So you're gonna find that very quickly in the mornings. When you wake up in the mornings, that it's hard to get up on time and it's hard to try to get together because we have early mornings. We'll probably be out by 7 a.m., 7:30, 8 o'clock. We gotta be on the track and we gotta go boogie because we gotta be in certain places, certain times. So we gotta make sure that we are honoring that, and we always have to be on time for certain things like that. Obviously, I don't have to remind you to be on time for your flight. You get left, so and that will happen. So follow the dress code as outlined in the information package, and if you haven't gotten that already at this point, just come talk to me. I'll make sure for you to get that. I did email that out to everybody, but if you haven't gotten it, because I know a few people, no one got that?
I got it.
You got it? No, it's in a PDF document. Basically, it's like your team number.
I know. The email I got from him was the donation.
The donation. I got
No.
the donation one and the.
So there's a dress code in there to highlight like what your wardrobe will look like if you need to buy any clothes. I can give you an example. For women, like if you're going to a church or anything, you want to wear like longer dresses. You don't. I think it's pants that they discourage pants, right? Like knees and below. Yeah. So they discourage pants in your church. Yeah. No skinny strap, like one-piece bathing suit. With sleeves, yeah. No like really big earrings. No nose rings. Heather sent me a few things extra that doesn't actually make. It's not relevant to us. Like no really tight skinny pants. Like skin tight skinny pants, or like I don't even know what they are. Like it is a trend these days. I don't know what, like you know the
Spacers?
Yes, thank you. I didn't know what the word was, right? But I don't even know if anyone. Yeah, so that's a big thing, right? But like it's just because of Haiti being so close and Peru being so big, right? That is one of those things where it's a cultural thing for them, right? So they see that they're like, or they see the big holes in their ears, they're like, no, I don't know about that, right? So so there's a dress code, so make sure you follow that. Like for guys wearing like you don't have to wear a suit straight up all the time, but like wearing a nice shirt with like nice pants, So I always kept 2 pairs of pants. Like whenever we do anything church related, I kept 2 pairs of pants and I had like 4 or 5 shirts, like either a dress shirt or like a linen shirt or something like that. Polo, you could probably do a polo, yeah, like a nicer polo. So in that way, it's just like we're not looking grungy, really. We're not coming in like with like a t-shirt and jeans and just showing up and just like because when they do church, they do church. Their dress is big for them. So you'll see they roll up in suits. They'll bring out their best of the best, right? Like if they I saw a guy like he was only 16 years old, but I saw him the day after and he was wearing the same thing, but like he washed it and everything because I remember his shirt was dirty the day before, like it got like a stain or something on it, but like he was wearing the same thing the next day, but that's all he had. But he washed it and he put it on, he dressed like he looked good, right? But whatever they have, they make sure that they bring out their best when they're at church. right? So we got to make sure that we follow kind of those trends, and look over that. And if you don't have it, I'll make sure for you to get it. Always have a can-do attitude, just like Kels was saying. Just be mindful to kind of be willing to do anything and everything. Don't go anywhere alone, right? Especially out of the ministry house. Don't just decide to walk away and say, okay, well, I'm going to go up the street or something like that. Especially at nighttime or anything like that. It is very dangerous. We're not in Punta Cana. We're not on resort territory. Because when people go to Dominican, they go to resorts most of the time they're vacationing, right? And actually, truthfully, most resorts on the Dominican don't let you go out of the resort into the villages and stuff like that, right? So we're not in any destination place. We are in a very poor province in Nagua, and so you're going to see a lot of things that is very much lifestyle for them, right? So we were allowed to go out of the ministry house. It's not like saying you have to stay in the house when you're there, but we just have to make sure that we go in groups. We ask the missionaries. They live there. They know. So we just say, hey, could we go out at this time? Is that okay? And they've always said, yeah, no problem. We go out to the store. Like, we took Marlene with us because obviously she spoke Spanish. So, I tell her, I'm like, I only want to pay this much. So can you make sure that this is all I'm paying? She's like, yeah, right? So, I don't want to get robbed, right? So, the bag of chips is $1 and she charges me $5. I have no idea, and I'm just giving her my money, right? So it's not going to happen. So, so make sure, we get permission. Ensure that you're not alone with children under the age of 18. If your kids will go crazy, like they come and they'll jump on, 10 kids will just run up on you and just jump on you, and they just want to play and they want to, just make sure that you're not alone. It's just something that you want to be mindful of. Kids are very friendly and they don't think anything of it. It's the culture, but for you to be aware of, just make sure that you're not just alone with kids and under the age of 18. Especially high school students and stuff like that. Many of them do try to flirt and stuff like that because you're American, or Canadian, whatever, and they are trying to get off the island, right? So they'll try. I mean, last year I had girls come with me. They're like, "Oh, can I take pictures with you? This and that. Like, what's your Facebook? What's your number? And all that kind of stuff." Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll take your Facebook, right? So and you're gonna get those questions, because you want to connect with people, right? But sometimes you have to discern what are their intentions, right? Yeah. So we all have added Pastor Freddie and Pastor Caroline on our Facebooks and all that kind of stuff, and they talk to us, and we get to know them. But you just have to be mindful of who you're giving it to, and it's safer to just take their information rather than give out your information, right? So that's my advice to you. That's what I've done in the past and being on these trips. I just take their information and I make a decision after that whether I'll communicate with them. And just be aware of domestic violence. Things are done differently about it in culture, so be prepared to see things that you may not have seen before, right? Or experience things that you haven't experienced before. So even when I went, not last year, good thing this didn't happen last year, but for our first year we had a youth outreach plan and we had to cancel it because there was violence in the streets because a cop had shot some person from a community, and so all the people were rioting on the streets. Right, so we just weren't allowed to go because it's too dangerous. We can't take that chance. So we can't go. Right, so just be prepared to understand that sometimes certain things happen out of our control, and we would like to voice our opinion on things, but sometimes it's all cultural there, right? So we just have to be wise on it. And if you're feeling something, I don't agree with this or this and that, come talk to me or Kels. And we'll make sure that we talk about the missionaries and figure out the best approach to it. Remember, we're also here to serve the missionaries who spend their lives doing this, right? They're there for years doing this and building that relationship with people and getting to know the people, and they're allowing us the opportunity to come in and minister alongside of them, right? So we want to honor that and not come in and just do things and gung-ho and do things our way. Cool. Are there any questions that through all of this that you may have at this point? No questions? Nothing? No, not at all? You have a question? Go ahead. Oh, now the question.
Are there going to be dates for fasting? Because I know that we fasted every Friday, right? Yeah, we fasted
Okay.
Friday.
We didn't do that last year. I don't think we did that last year. I'm not opposed to it. I think that would be good. I just have to come up with Pastor Ken and Pastor Pam. I'll figure out a way to do it, and then I'll communicate that guys to you as soon as I know that. It's the reason why we're a little bit delayed behind time is just because I've been getting applications in very late. It's hard to put together a team when people are still deciding, making decisions, right? So I'm a little bit behind time. I will make one practical note is I'm really figuring out flights. We're in high season for flying. And that mid-August is very high season. It's like I've been looking for even for our honeymoon, and like the week before and the week after our Dominican trip, prices go down like crazy, like crazy. But in the week of my honeymoon and the Dominican week, the prices are ridiculous, right? So I'm constantly scouring. I found one decent price that at this point is the best price. I'm not even saying it's a very good price. It is just the best price I've found, right? And so if you feel like you know what, like maybe I may know someone or like this and that kind of a connection, it's helpful. It's only because our team is so big, right? So and we're not flying into a major city or major airport. We have to fly into the airports that I've been given to fly into. So it puts a dampener on it. So out of 4 airports I've given, 2 of them I can't even fly into because they're weekend airports, and we go from Tuesday to Tuesday. So I'm limited in it, but I'm doing my best to find it and work in it. So be patient with that one. Felicita.
This is just not a question, but I remember you specifically warning us not to sometimes like be alone with a male person.
Oh yes.
Because sometimes not just under 18,
Yes.
but just because they're opposite sex, because they try to form a relationship.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to leave, or you never know what their intentions are.
Yeah.
So we have to be very aware of stuff like that.
That's very true, yeah. So opposite sex is very true, yeah. Just be aware of it. Doesn't matter if you're married or not.
Right.
Just be aware. They look in the ring. That doesn't stop them at all. So you're gonna try.
Yes.
What the heck?
So
Yeah.
just be aware of that. Any other questions? No.
The payments, for
Yes.
the May 15th.
So the first payment is May 15th, and you can put that into Cassandra. One sec. You can. I won't be here because I'll be on the cruise. But you can in that week from May 15th till I'm back. That's next week. Yes, you can get that into Cassandra. It is very important you get those in because otherwise I can't do anything. Like I'm limited with what I can do. Right, so you guys gotta help me out with that because there's a reason why the payment schedule is the way it is. Yeah, like it's $500, yes, because I have to put flight payments and I have to put deposits on each and every single one of you for the missionaries, for your food and transportation, all that kind of stuff. I have to do that by certain deadlines, right? So I have to meet those deadlines. So I really need you guys to help me out with that.
Your last email said the 22nd. Yeah.
That's what
Change
I'm
it.
May 22nd?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Yes, I did. Actually, you're right. I did increase it. Because of the lateness of everyone's applications, I'm like, you know what? There's a few people that probably don't know, or I haven't had time to fundraise. So I did increase it to the 22nd, mostly because I'm not here. So it's not like I can do anything about it while I'm away, right? So it's not. Ideally, I would like to have not done it, but I will give it to the 22nd. If you can get it in sooner, please do that because it really helps me. I can't do anything. I can't move forward in a lot of things because I have to put deposits down, and we do not have a float or a bank account that's sitting there with money. I'm just being real with you, right? So you gotta get me your stuff in ASAP. And I have to give you another warning. If you don't, I'm gonna have to say that you're gonna have to find your own flights there, right? So after a certain point, I'm not gonna take that risk, and I'm not gonna put down a deposit for you, and then have you back out and say, well, I can't meet that deadline. Because last year we did do that, and I got screwed this year with that. So I went back to WestJet, and they're like, well, we can't do that again like we did last year because we didn't get your payments in on time. So this is how much it is now, right? So unfortunately, it sucks. I'm in a bind, but I gotta do what they're telling me. Unless I find somewhere else that's cheaper and they're willing to work with me for the amount of people that's going with. So please do your best to get those in, right? And that way it helps, and I'm doing my best to try and work it out. Cool? Alright, so 22nd, yeah, so I did say that in the email, I forgot to adjust the sheet for that. So May 22nd is the first payment of $500. And as well, make sure you go sign those sheets in the back with your name as per your passport. passport number if you know it. I know you may have put it on the application, just put it on that list would be helpful. Your skill set or passion that you want to get involved in, want to be a part of. And as well, there's another sheet for if you have a date, like a day and time block that you're available to get your immunizations done for Dominican. I don't remember what needs to be done. It just depends. I think there's a typhoid one, tetanus if you haven't gotten your tetanus.
How long do you know how long that immunization lasts?
Depends on the shot. So tetanus is 10 years. It just depends on the shot and when you got them. So I had to do tetanus last year because mine had expired at that point. So they tell you to get malaria pills. Up to you, your call. I've never used them. So
it also depends on the type of malaria pills because the genetic one causes like horrific nightmares. Like
there you
really, and then
don't take those ones.
The non-genetic ones
Makes you constipated.
generic or
Yeah.
genetic.
Generic causes like really
Yeah,
and
so-
it causes depression.
So
and-
Marco took them last year and he was like really constipated, and so I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm not taking it. So it's up to you, your call. I'm just personally telling you, I'm not like I never used them any of the years that I've gone. So it's your call. I'm not gonna tell you
That's what
you need to do it or don't need to do it. It's your call. They say keep it, but have it just in case you're there and you know an outburst happens. And if Heather is to warn me and tell me like we're having a big outbreak of this or this, like we advise you to do this, and I will let you know. Up until this point, she hasn't. So and I don't anticipate her saying that either. But it's your call. I'm not gonna force you to do that. But the shots, you do need to get those as per your doctor advises you. And there was one thing as well, travel insurance as well. Make sure you get that. Like I think per week it's probably $15 or $16.
Most employers
Have it?
cover
There you go.
that.
So I have a CA membership. I went on the CA website, put my membership in, gave me a discount of 20%. So I ended up paying $13 for the week. And for $13, just in case anything happens, if anything happens in Dominican, you can't leave. So they make you stay in the Dominican because they're not taking that chance to fly you back and anything happens. So the bills are expensive, right? Because you're not covered, right? If you don't have insurance. So just make sure that you have that and just have a paper to show me. You just literally have to just go like, here's my insurance. I'm okay, no problem, and that's it, right? And then I will also send out some waiver forms that you'll need to get signed, probably closer to like July, because I have to send them in to our missionaries in the Dominican as well. Cool?
Cool.
So, like I said, again, we just want to make sure that we're prepared to do anything and everything. So we are going to be training on our human videos in some of our training blocks here, and as well as kids ministries, right? So, so we want to make sure that Tanisha will be here to help us kind of get organized with it, with our kids ministries, and then Kels is going to help us with some of the human videos, and then as well as I'm going to try and work out with some of the musicians and singers to work out some of that stuff. As well, I'm going to try and ask you guys to do me one more favor. In any of your workplaces or anything that, or any people you're connected with, see if you can get some donations, like hygiene products. So Carla last year went to her dentist and got like 2 bags donated to her of like, basically with WestJet, I can ask them as an extra bag for every person. So you bring 1 luggage, right? That's included. But the extra bag is a humanitarian effort that we can bring, but we can't bring back because it's humanitarian effort. So it's going down. So basically, for each person here is an extra bag that they're willing to do for free, as long as it's humanitarian effort, right? So they market humanity. So last year we had 4 bags, and one of them, sometimes the missionaries have stuff that they need to get sent there, so they send it through us. So last year they had like kids' backpacks that someone was trying to send to them. So we took it as one of our humanitarian bags. Carla had 2 bags of supplies for like all hygiene products, like toothbrushes, dental floss, that kind of stuff. And then we had like our supply bags also count because we leave a lot of that stuff there once we're like, if like we had lots of beads and gimp and any of that stuff, like we'll take it, we don't plan to bring it back, right? So all our kid supplies, anything we need to use for our arts and crafts, yeah, youth stuff, whatever they are, right? I'll take it as humanitarian efforts and then just leave it there while we're there.
Could you get us
For donations?
like for that?
Specific?
Well, just for like, cause we have one for like.
For
finance,
sponsorships, yeah.
But just for,
Yeah, I haven't written one up, but I can write one up and send that to you. Yeah, it's not a problem.
What is the business specifically like? Or are you just looking for?
I'm looking for anything new, so you can even do toys and anything like that. Try to avoid anything used and all that kind of stuff. Just keep it new. Probably the best route is to do hygiene products. Medical, so it depends on the type of medical supplies. I can get a list from them.
Band-Aids, like
Yeah, so I would get a list from them. For sure, like dental supplies are something that, you know, like, or coloring books and all that kind of stuff. Because we give them to the missionaries and they decide who they want to give it to. So we don't give it to anybody in the community. We don't go to a pastor and we're like, oh, here you go. We give it to the missionaries and they decide like who needs them and how they do that process. Because the way they do it is that they empower the pastor to empower their congregation. Right, so even our construction projects, you'll see, I picked this up last year, but what they do is they give the money to the pastor, right, so that we raise that money for the project, but they give it to the pastor, and everything comes through that pastor. So the people go to the pastor. They don't look at us, and they don't say that, oh, these are the people that came and helped us, you know, like, so we're, like, forget you, we're going to them, because that's the heart that's in that community. That pastor has a heart for that community, right, so we're helping resource him to empower his community, right? So a lot of the stuff last year, like Pastor Freddie, you know, when we're out of something, they'd go to Pastor Freddie and be like, you know, we're out of this, and we go, okay, like here you go, okay, go to the store, bring the receipt back, and all that kind of stuff, because then he'll give it to like the missionary, the receipts and stuff like that to keep track of it, right? So that way the people see that this is who the person is going to lead us, right? You know, this is the person that God has as leading, so that they can clearly see that, right? So that's how they like to do it, and they like to be. The missionaries like to be invisible in a sense, right? Because they don't want to be like, oh, we're the big missionaries coming here and doing all this stuff. Like, they are there to help support the pastors. That's why they do the pastor conferences, to empower the local pastors in there so that they can go and reach their communities. So, so many of that stuff we brought to the house, and we give it to the missionaries, and they kind of decide what they want to do with it. As well as we take up an offering at the very end of the week for the missionaries, and we give it to them. And I don't know, I gave like whatever I had with me at that time. I took like a couple hundred for anything for spending, and I bought Abby something while we were there on the beach. And I enjoy negotiating and bartering and all that kind of stuff. It's just something I enjoy. It's a pastime for me. So I like that. Even if I have no intent of buying it, I still enjoy just seeing how far I take the price down, right? Sometimes just to maintain that skill. So like, you know, I was on the beach, and this guy's thinking, you know, this is a tourist, so he's trying to come up and sell me beads and all this kind of stuff. And I actually did like one of the things. I'm like, I'm not paying 2,000 pesos for that. So he's okay, this much. I ended up paying 400 pesos from 2,000. So I'm like, okay, that's a lot. And at the same time, I have my phone aside, and I'm like converting to Canadian, right? So I'm like, okay, I could probably get that in Canada for that much. So like, is it worthwhile getting here, right? Also, sometimes it helps support the people, local people there, right? But I'm not getting ripped off to do that. So so little things like that. But yeah, so you know, bring I would say dental supplies for sure. Probably coloring books, pencil crayons, that kind of stuff. I will do, yes, I will ask Heather for a list, yeah. Sure, because then it gives you some time to kind of like process that and ask people so that they're prepared to do that. And yeah, so just be prepared as well to give an offering while we're there to the missionaries to help support them and what they're doing there as well. So Pastor Kevin usually asks, you know, that we do that, so it's part of our core values, right? So sounds good, yes.
Should we be carrying U.S. currency?
Yes.
Or
you can do both. I advise to not bring U.S. and then switch it into pesos there. If you can switch it into pesos here, probably better. But sometimes the reality is you probably can't, right? So you can keep U.S. What I did was I didn't get a chance to change into pesos while I was here. So I took U.S. and I changed some of it into pesos while I was there, and I kept the rest U.S. Because there are many times most places will take U.S. Yeah, and then they give you back pesos, right? So as long as you are smart enough to know not to get ripped off, right? So yeah, so and we'll have a day of I believe we'll have a shopping day, which is kind of going to the local market area and buy stuff and whatever. I only brought two things back. It was a necklace for Abby and a whole whack of plantain chips. That's all I brought back. They were like, I don't know, well, how much were they? 15 pesos, right, for a bag. So I just went nuts. I went to a store. I'm like, the whole shelf. I just got a whole shelf, right? Like I brought them. Like my whole carry-on was sweet plantain chips. That's it. So I'm like, this ain't gonna be any cheaper in Canada. So I'm just gonna buy one here. So. And pop is like ridiculously cheap there too, and they have like different kinds of pop there. So like, because they have a factory there that they make everything, so it's like 20 pesos for like a bottle of pop for what we pay like dollars, a couple of dollars here, right? So I ended up buying a bunch of stuff there. A few bucks. Yeah, that's what I did. Any other questions? Yes.
Even the pop there, the Coca-Cola Classics, the real brand that it was made with cane sugar.
Oh right, yeah, that's true. So also just so you know, like we do get fed really well there, and the food is really good. And so the only thing is breakfast is on us, like in terms of making it. So they provide us with everything, but we have to do that, right? So we got to make the breakfast. So last year, Auntie Doreen was kind enough to make breakfast a bunch of mornings, and trust me, it is like Christmas gift to know that someone's making you breakfast in the morning, especially after a long day of construction, right? And you get to sleep in a little bit. So, but we have to take care of the house. So there's no maid service or anything like that. Like, we have to keep the kitchen areas clean and all that kind of stuff. Wash your dishes, yeah. So we'll make sure that there's like rotations for all that kind of stuff. So I'm just giving you a heads up warning of I wasn't expecting that last year, so I'm just giving you now. So. All that kind of stuff, and cleaning up and doing laundry if you choose to do so. Like we did last year, some of us, went to the local thing, bought powder and detergent, and just washed some of our clothes, right? Because it was hot, it was like sweaty. Where do you keep all of it, right? So it is what it is, right? So you're living together. So, yeah, they have a clothesline in the back, yeah. So. Obviously bring, sunscreen and all that kind of stuff, and mosquito repellent probably good. And we'll have a beach day as well. Last year, the missionary's daughter, I don't remember her name, Courtney, I think is her name? Courtney, right? I knew her from the year before, or a couple of years before. So she wanted to take us into like the jungle and all that kind of stuff. So like we get opportunities to do that kind of stuff, and I didn't want to go because I'm like, not that I'm not adventurous, but I don't like beaches, right? So I came in jeans. So I'm like, I know I'm not going to go in the water. I'm like, I'll sit here. I'm okay with that because I'll do part of the team, but I'm not going in the water. So I was wearing jeans. Like remember, I was wearing jeans. I was like normally how I normally dress. That's how I was at the beach. So they're like, what are you doing? This is how I go to the beach. I'm going to the water, nobody's pushing me in. I have my phone in my pocket, no one's doing anything, right? But I ended up going to the jungle and like we ended up on the other side of the island, and it was sweet, yeah. So there are opportunities where you're gonna get to like be a part and not just feel like you're always working. We take a day where we're like we hang out and we can relax and all that kind of stuff. As well as you get opportunities to take pictures.
Can I bring my camera?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can, yes.
I'm okay bringing one.
Yes, you can. Yeah. We probably just have to take some advisement from the missionaries in certain contexts with how to take pictures, because certain communities and stuff like that don't like it because then they're like, oh, you're focused on our poverty and all that kind of stuff, and that's sometimes the mentality. So, but we didn't experience that last year. Pastor Kevin had his camera with him. He was all over the place. On the beach taking a picture. Kasani, every second he could take a picture of his plate of food. Right? So, and then obviously with Tasha, but but he did take a lot of pictures, yeah. So, and Sadik had hundreds of thousands of pictures, right? And it's just like,
It's not just a photo.
So yeah, so please bring your cameras if you have them, and we get tons of opportunities to take pictures and all that kind of stuff, and and it's a great way to bring it back, and so that everyone else can see what we're part of. So any other questions? I'm gonna wrap it up. See, by 12 o'clock, I told you.
Do you have the other team dates? I have my I was curious.
The next payment date after the 22nd is June 15th.
Okay, so like a month after you.
Yeah, it's basically always on the 15th is how I put it. And so that would be the next one, and I believe that one is,
June 17th, is that the final?
I believe it is the final payment.
Yeah.
765, yeah.
It was July.
Is it July?
It says July in the paper. Yeah.
It's, I know it's the 15th, but with everyone doing applications, they have messed up on my date.
So basically say May, June, July, all the 15.
It
Just
was
say
July
that.
15th.
July
For the final.
Sooner the better. July 15th for sure is you have to get me your money by then. You have to get it to me by then. But I would like something before that.
By May 22nd.
Yeah, so because then it just helps me book everything and I can get you guys in order. You don't want to mess with flights last minute. Trust me on that one. Last year I was up till 4 a.m. calling WestJet because we had one flight out, one person that had a ticket at that point. Because that's how late we got money. We got money like day up. I don't want to get money day off this year because it messes us up, right? And because of that, I ended up getting a ticket while I was driving because I'm on the phone with people. I'm on the phone with WestJet, trying to deal with all this stuff, and they're calling me, and I'm calling them, and Hassani's trying to call me that I need to get my immunizations. So what happened to me last minute, right? And this year,
You don't have that option.
you cannot call me this year because I'm in on my honeymoon, and I won't be back until the 18th. Right? So that's why I'm saying it's important that we get all this stuff done
You
before.
can call me, but I ain't answering.
Yeah. It's important that we get all this stuff done prior in advance. Just like I was saying, get your stuff in order, right? Get your passports in order, get your immunizations in order, get your payments in order. So that way, by the time my honeymoon rolls around, like we're good, right? We're all in order, and I don't have to worry about this, right?
And so you guys know passports have changed a little bit, so the price has gone up somewhat. It's $160 for, sorry, $120 for 5 years, $160 for 10 years. So get that as soon as possible.
If you are renewing it, I think there's some restrictions in Dominican, right? It may not hurt you to just say like I'm renewing because I'm going to the Dominican, right? To find out if there is, because I know on some airlines they have some restrictions about Dominican. I haven't read through them because the prices weren't that good, so I didn't even bother.
My passport is linked to the.
If you are good, if you have a passport, I'm not changing it. Mine's good till next year. I'm good. But I'm saying if you're renewing,
It's usually 6 months.
yeah, if you're renewing,
It's expiring
just
within 6 months.
No, it's cool. It's
Yeah.
good.
That's
just be aware and just remind them. Just say, hey, I'm renewing my passport because I'm going to Dominican in August, right? And if there is a restriction, at least they can tell you, right? So that maybe because of this, this, and this. Better to find out sooner rather than later, right? So you get all your money in and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, oh, but I can't go, right? So better to find out sooner. Cool? All right. I think that's it. So if there's no other questions, we shall wrap up. June 14th, that is our next date. But the May 31st, which is the end of this month, we're doing garage sale, right, at Ramona's. Right, so I will be talking to Ramona, and I will let you know all the details. 31st. May.
Okay.
She knows, don't worry, she knows. No, but I will talk to Ramona, we'll work it out, and we'll let you guys know of all the other information as we go. Cool? Obviously, if you have any other questions, you can email me or text me. Your numbers, please fill those out in the back though. As much as you know all that information, it does help me in how I can plan better. Alright, everyone say hi to the people that are watching.
Hi!
You.
Cool. They're not watching now, they will. So. Alright, so if I can get someone to pray for us to close our morning in prayer, you can be on your way. Anyone? Alright, go ahead.
Lord God, we just thank you for today. We thank you for this opportunity, Lord God, that you have opened up for us, Lord Jesus. And we thank you for the leadership, Lord God, that's part of this journey, Lord God. And we pray for great blessings, Lord God, and strength and provision, Lord God, in every area, and especially for this trip, Lord God. And we thank you for our pastors, oh Father God. We thank you for John and Abby. We thank you for Cal, oh Father God, and their direction, Lord Jesus, that is aligned with your word, Father God. So, Lord Jesus, we believe in you, we trust in you, Lord God, and you just place the rest of this day in your hands, and we thank you. Amen.
Amen. Alright, well, I hope you guys have the rest of your great Saturday. I'm off the clock.
It's fine, it's not about VR.
There's about other stations in there.
No, it's not
Is it
about
about Quebec?
No, it's not.
So I'm trying to think of anything you'd be really.
You wouldn't be able to.
He's trying to get
Now I can.
Expect a call or a text for your assignment tomorrow.
Oh,
I know.
I don't even know. But said all this other stuff. So
If the trip doesn't change you at all, then
Will be a year.
But hey, what are you saying? Yes. Okay, you know what, right, maybe I have it wrong. Maybe I read it on it wrong. I had a feeling, like, because sometimes when I send emails, it switches to one email, right? So I take care of the email. So write it down for me.
City center?
Yeah, me too. I want
Okay.
I can train I can give you some train and
But I'm just trying to avoid and lose out on building the team and practice.
No, I just gave you the call. Okay, so maybe
next week.
Over this morning.
So maybe that one you
I keep brown.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So when
I thought you were going straight.
oh
Like I thought you were stacking straight. So where's he going?
Oh.
Like I thought you were just going one to the next.
Yeah, I was trying to mess with
I wasn't this off.
No, when I ride my bike, I have these
I usually I figured.
Where do you have to go?
Hurt your back?
That's too much. He has a back spasm. I come from there when I talk to my dad. That's what you should challenge. I get up off the chair. Like two hands right here.
Yeah, that was
Is
not
that heavy?
Look at you going England. But you want to get
I went Monday and yesterday.
I kind of see like
That's a lot, man. I died on Monday after Resurrection Feed. Monday, that Monday, day that was when it happened.
So when came back already, I'm like, oh, snake.
Yeah, I had 4 wonderful whirlwind days.
That's what I'm saying. You're a jet setter this week.
4 quick days.
Quick days.
It was nice though.
How's the weather?
It was nice, just like this. Yeah, very nice. Rain, of course.
But it's pretty good.
Yes.
There is.
Wow. Health. The secret is one of my we all need. All of them. This is the guy coming up with his coattail and local Try, that's all you do. The big limousine, like the person, and he's walking, so he must drive up the block and they don't have 5. And it's like, I had to take a lot of it. I was a funny person. They do it for everyone.
a variety of
A variety of people, right? And right now
They're posting right now. My piece was amazing.
we're not born.
Monday or Tuesday or
I did it before that.
Wednesday might work. Wednesday each day like this happens.
What was their little transition target? What was their
Well, I
message?
was-
Like,
Yeah.
you know, some people have education like me.
Yeah, that was really nice.
And I have
Just
it.
excited.
You know what? I think I would imagine that the last testimony online.
Because like, I'm like, oh, we gotta get a sense of all
She
that
is
stuff.
funny that she had and I said she's gonna be so much braver and I couldn't believe it. So I went, I said, like, and I was like, okay, Mark.
Yeah, God first.
I was very good. Like, we're very good at it, you know. We're very, very good at it. And I was like, but I also, you know, why did I do this? I said, my brother, I'm five. Please. You know, permission. She was like, you she was like, Lord, you go with me. And she was like, I see what you want to do. Yeah, so most of the time. And then I'm walking home and I see Sally.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
because
so I'm like so excited. So excited. So, you know, just I don't know, God, like, listen, I suppose
That's a cool opportunity.
Yeah, so, especially because,
you know, he said he got baptized. Child time for you to so somebody else baptized. So one of the other pastors, but when it's going back to the day, it's not going to take this. So like even he hasn't been emotional for a year. 2 years. I was like, we're doing devotions. Everybody in the kitchen. And I had a this and talking about my God. I didn't think I was messed up. Even came to Janae and I told him I was there. Yes, I heard him in his mouth say, told him.
I'm totally down to
Okay, so we gotta talk about
thank you. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you considering me.
So as we're talking, I was like, gosh, Jordan. So that's great, right? I have about 7 hours. I said, you know what, that's not right, but we're going you know, you just listen to email.
So you want like it? We're trying to.
We're planning.
Oh, yes, very good.
Yeah, let me take his question.
You know what it is? Can you really? That's what they're doing? Oh, I'm saying,
We tend to do everything
all times,
sometimes, like, if we're doing this, like, say we're doing, I would say that.
So yes.
On this one.
We'll come to the wedding. My sister, she had.
I was thinking through like songs that I knew that were Spanish.
Yeah, I was talking about something online once.
No, I don't know.
No, there's some other guys, there are more guys that are here.
It's a very song. It's also
Yeah, I can do later or something.
it's very
It's John.
I heard a couple and I thought it was just a little.
Oh, that was
It's
a
John.
donation for that little bit.
like it does have that, it does go and go down, but it's one thing to do. It's called like no bed, just go. But it's a good song, it's sad, right? So it's like, how many times do you do that same thing?
Some, you really have to base it. We have to base it on the song that's in Spanish.
I'll not tell you.
Find the song in Spanish. Find the song in Spanish. And put in English, see the words back and forth.
Well,
We have a couple things to go over. I have one in the last one. I don't know which one you saw then. We have that.
we're doing that one, we don't do like us everything.
Yeah, that's what worst case scenario.
No, we always do some wrestling moves.
My head goes to next guy.
Be a wrestler. So it's always like, be like, Julie, I don't know, Julie, be like, that's not wrestling. This is what it's.
No, she was better. She's talking. That's why we're trying to say. We're like, she's listening. So let me just say that she's listening. But I know she'll write some words. I know she'll pick you up.
we'll talk about it. Didn't think about it when I was giving a reason, and I'm trying to Saturdays that you guys do 7 o'clock.
It's real serious.
I know Quincy has something along the way, but I'll figure it out.
Yes, I did do that.
That's what everyone's
I don't know if I'm quitting or I don't want to like, here, donate me for Dominican, I want to quit. Well, I got a job on Wednesday and then you will get full-time hours. So I still be standing, but it's still full-time hours until I get to the job where I could, right? Right now, I'm saying, I'm 6 hours. This week I don't want I want to be a wrestler. I want a full-time job as an officer whenever he's doing I can't afford to live like this. I have bills to pay, I have school, I have a trip coming up, I have to pay back for this. I need to be working. And it's not, McDonald's has been giving me like 11 hours a week for the past 2 months. 11 hours a day I wouldn't mind. 11 hours a week I can't spend, and so I have to work. I had a job interview on Wednesday at Brave Boys. I had free training days as soon as we come back from the cruise.
So you can't keep going.
I asked McDonald's, I asked the manager, like, I'm going to get a second job. And no sure to keep walking. She's like, oh no, I don't want to become second priority. I'm like, hold on, you're only like 30. Like I'm not changing my ability to take me a man today. Nice. No, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Yeah, I'm class it's not happening. Yeah, and my cousin lives in Brave Boys, so I can go play a show with him, and it's here. I have friends, anyways. He's like, "Hey, trying to make it right firecrackers." Yeah, I'll be sure to sit there and 10 minutes later. Yeah.
You're like right next door you.
The older, I mean, when you first opened the store, I would be out here.
I did see that so
And I can get full-time hours. My cousin said he makes $300 in 1 weekend. And if I pretend like I still don't have that money and I live the way I live in right now, then that's right. Pretend it's not there. Because I don't. Because I really don't. I don't have it. Because it's delegated. It's delegated. And it's hard to like, I have money in my savings, I don't have any money in my checkings. I gotta do, fine, transfer, account, go back. He never liked it though, like I was talking about it, he never filled out the budget. At like the first few shifts, he was like, yeah, I'm working. But afterwards, he was just like,
I was talking to him, I drink one thing, start trying to Wednesdays. I told Alicia, my job is it's already out all week, Tuesday.
well, yeah, so you told me.
April, March, April.
He made
Because
they
have so many people that wait. They have offering some things in store for them too.
Well, yeah, you can apply work. If you want to commute, it's not that big of a.
It's supposed to break down.
I hire people for November, or not November, for October. Because people quit. At restaurants, they need people, so they always need people. They're always quitting or going on vacation, or people get injured, or something happens.
Okay,
Like
so
I had to quit in October, early October.
I'm gonna start that.
But it used to be, as far as I know, I never have to take it because
I have,
no, it's 45 minutes.
organized,
I know,
detailed
it's not a bad.
So it's taking care
Lizzie and I have to
of
watch from the preacher all the time. It's fine.
As soon as I finish, I'll probably be teaching tomorrow.
I do want my daughters.
Basically, kind of like,
Yes.
can I stick on top of yours? Stick on top of
We travel Sunday night.
What I saw. Oh, it's gonna
You got Wednesday.
I'm not gonna give you a round.
Oh, you came back yesterday, sorry, I'm thinking today's
You're
Friday.
which we already
I'll so sweet that.
Then we, I'll just sleep in this. I'm going
You guys get up.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
So I did, but.
He doesn't say cheap, but he said that about long insurance. That is the actual.
I already put my track record for Wednesday. So,
He wants to be dad.
but it's your butt. So,
See, I can go.
but follow the views really. And I always send
So
out-
can we take this now, or
No, I think you guys are on that one.
do you want us to take the pictures
I
and
usually
stuff?
try to put all the views on the
Was it you?
Sure, remind me that we're going to see. Thank you. I remind you, I usually try to do it on Friday. So by Friday, I'll remind you. You know how small it is. So, just get straight to it. But mostly follow the leaders. Tuesday, Saturday, Friday. Because
I just said that to him.
Kara's mom was texting, she's like, oh, what time is it home?
Tell me my list of experiences where I'm gonna be on.
Because we were talking, because she was just really driving. What is our partner?
How are you?
Really trying to.
Yeah. So don't worry.
So, yeah, all the leaders. I actually talked
Yeah.
I like that.
And then support myself. Sometimes I feel like if you're on the wall, I don't even get across. So how can I? When we talk about it, each has experienced some stuff.
Yeah, so they have to.
Not just with and just like I literally and he knows that's him. And on something I just felt like I knew something. So I'm hoping you guys can work together. Just give them some I just keep, I offering, get the water this.
Gavin doing everything, he's still doing the same.
So I would ask him, ask him or Wednesday. He's like, at least with these questions, we each have a better understanding of it.
No, we didn't.
So you must be more and as you saw, very
We eat good food.
I was actually really excited.
You won't find it as a ten. Yes.
No,
we have
some
And they got whole wheat bread.
So not the camera. Anyone else?
Yeah, but.
Right, so that falls on top of everything else, all of it. But give me what I've given them.
Yeah, but what?
So they really can make that.
What? It's just simple.
So probably Tuesday. Follow up. Would you mind getting some stuff at Thursday? That's okay. And so that's really all they need. I don't think they're probably not. Beyond that, they're going to try to work out everything. They're trying to see if we can expect it, right? You guys are Wi-Fi, so we're probably trying to I'll look that out with
That's what we brought the first.
with her and so but they have this that will figure it out. But so like him doing the service and then just encourage.
I think probably
Really very good job last night. It was actually every video was.
Oh, yes, okay,
From the exception. But they did bring really all intense conversation. That's just kind of how but really, it's a night of the and it comes out. So something happens.
They're carting off by themselves. Right? They have a, yeah. So, you know, all that.
And even in the he was like,
Yeah, I got these. I got 100 sleeves for $8.
trying to
Oh no, all this is
oh no, I know that. No, I wouldn't. That's why I asked him.
yeah, it smells like Asian flower shop. Like,
if I don't know where I know
Because I actually
Looks like
I rushed it off and
he had an episode last year.
I think that's
Because he was driving without it.
Yeah.
so two things I got close to saying, so
Find out.
like
But in the corner, charge you saying that. Stop my. When I get up, I was.
this connection.
Yeah, totally taking them back to you.
oh yeah.
So no, Val and I were talking about Father's Day, and I'm like, Val, it's okay. Once I find out what the budget is, then I'm like,
Yeah.
But
Well, I
I'm
mean,
gonna
we're
need
pretty
somebody
good.
to
It's basically set other than those like little things that we wanted to clarify. So I
But the
went.
one clarification, once I clarified, it made sense.
Yeah. I was like,
We weren't paying more for burgers, trust
well,
me.
that's what I was gonna say. I was like, what?
You probably brought it in that room.
I just stood there for a while, looking at what you
It's
want.
freezing here.
Why is there only guest letters? You suck. John has a donation letter. Where do you have a donation letter? Send him and Clayton need them for Father's Day.
I don't have donation.
No, we just change it a little
I
bit.
for Canada Day, you can I can do the soft copy.
Did you send me a soft copy or just
Is
a
that now?
Something. You know that this came from
So
You just change some of the wording for the examples of what we're doing. Oh, okay.
Does anyone see a phone here that belongs to Kells?
No.
What?
You got it?
So last night at youth at Coin Street, I dropped my phone in a toilet.
Okay, I got you later.
Yeah, but I pulled it out right away and I dried it off, and it still works. It worked right away. Usually they shut off, and it was working the whole time. It worked all night, and then I took it home and I put it in rice overnight, turned it on, still working like a charm. So I'm like, Lord, there is a God, and He loves me because I don't have money for a new phone.
Oh, if you're doing something over a toilet, I have no idea why your phone is over your door.
No, it was in my back pocket.
Yeah, that's the problem. You stick them in your pocket and you go to put
Don't
them in.
picture it, but that's where it was. Okay?
Yeah, and then you forget, right?
So that's why they worry about butt dialing if it's in their back.
Exactly.
See, maybe I'll do a thigh dialing because I put it in the
Like
front
mine
pocket.
was more for the meat because I need to know like what I can tell people when I phone them and ask them questions.
For meat?
For the meat, for the budget for the meat.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you
the
said,
meat
that
was all
the
approved as long as the burgers wasn't 420. Then we're good.
I was like,
Not
I
a
think
big
you're
deal.
looking at the wrong number, but.
Well, hon, you have all that information about the Dominican for donations, right?
Yeah.
I want get out a couple more printing.
Okay, but you need to call your uncle because obviously we need the money sooner than I thought. So.
Those are decisions made.
Yep.
Right, so a lot
It'll
of
be
it is-
good.
And I can probably cover Elizabeth.
The pre-work is to follow the leaders,
Get my money sooner.
just remember where he's at right now. And just keep it on mind.
Call now.
Where he's at, and just keep it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just saying, we were just at a meeting and if you could, you know, you could come up to the office one night before we go away if you want.
I'm trying to help him, and you have hard work, stuff.
I have too many screenshots on it.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll get those out.
Talking about Father's Day.
Oh, okay.
Because you asked me for a letter, so if I don't ask her now, I'm gonna forget.
Yeah, so John can send it to you.
Yeah.
What letter are we doing?
It's
You wanted a letter for the car guys, right?
For the what?
For the guys with the cars?
Yeah. Yeah, I needed to know if we can do like, if we get like a guy from a rental place to get us like 3 or 4 cars, can we put it down as like a donation and give them?
Yeah,
a
a tax receipt? Oh yeah. Totally.
Because obviously I'm not asking for the money, I just need the cars.
No, totally, yeah. That's what we
And
can
how many
do.
cars do we have?
We have 2 currently.
How many do they room
He wants-
for? Like what if I?
He wants
5.
5 is what he said, right? Preferably closer to 5, but like no more than 5.
Because he doesn't want it to take up parking and all that kind of stuff.
And how close?
Closer to the end of the like at the end of service.
Yeah, I need a timetable when we're supposed to move the cars.
So I
That's
would
what I
tell
need to
people
know.
between 11:30, like we want them there between 11:30 and 2.
To show the car, but are we inviting them in for the brunch as
If
well?
they would like to come.
Then they
in.
have to come for the whole thing.
Well,
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
if
need
they
to
don't
know
want to
as
come
well.
for the whole thing, we need them there by 11:30. I would tell them, right?
And I might need and I may
That would
need
sound
drivers if I can't because I can't drive 3 vehicles.
What?
If I have to do the rental part, I might need drivers to drive the cars there.
Yeah, well, we can work that out once you figure
And
out
what type of cars do we have?
Hot rod.
That was the theme.
Holy snap! There's mom.
Is she calling you?
Yes, right now.
Yeah, okay, so he'll send that to you and then that'll be good. Oh, I have way more room on the table.
Abby, what's poppin'?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, that's what it looks like, eh? All them tables.
Yeah.
Tables.
Oh, 2 hours.